Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria, and in this video I'm going to talk about the astrology for this week. So let's get started. Now I want to talk about the overall themes that are going on right now, a little bit about last week, and then we will get into the astrology for this week. So we have this big conjunction building up, right? The Uranus North Node conjunction, which will come exact on 31st July. And Uranus is the planet of change, right? It's the planet of sudden change. It's the planet of awakenings. It's the planet that says, hey, be your authentic self, right? Be your unique self. And Uranus is this extreme energy. It's extreme. It's extreme in the sense that it's a lot of energy and it comes in bursts. And it's extreme because it's unexpected and sudden. Right, that's Uranus. And it's sitting next to the North Node. The North Node, Rahu, is representative of the future, yes, but the North Node is also a magnifier, right? And when the North Node is sitting next to a planet, as it is right here, right now, and it's just going to get closer and closer, how close they are, it magnifies the planet it's sitting next to. So in this case, the North Node is really amplifying the energy of Uranus. And Uranus, like I said, is sudden changes. So we are building up to these big changes, these changes that might happen unexpectedly, these changes that might happen quite suddenly in our lives. And this energy will peak on 31st July. But since Uranus is a heavy energy, right, it's a big planet, we're already feeling the build up to the change. And we have been feeling it for the past couple weeks. And this will come exact on July 31st. So this is the theme right now that we are working with, right? Big changes coming up, big changes building up at the end of the month. And this energy is connected to the full moon in Capricorn that happened last week. And that's simply because the full moon was at 21 degrees of Capricorn right here. It was sitting right next to Pluto. Pluto is the planet of transformation, right? So that full moon, in a way, started to prepare us by making us change, by making us transform, by making us release emotions or catharsis so that we can be ready for this big change that's building up at the end of the month. And let's not forget that this change is not just Uranus and the North Node, it's also Mars. Mars is going to be really, really close to this conjunction at the end of the month. And Mars is an energizer, right? So it is energizing this energy that's very extreme, that's about extreme changes. It's energizing it even more. So that's what we are building up to. And since last week, since the full moon in Capricorn on July 13th, we started to prep for this change, right? And since July 5th, when Mars entered Taurus, so on July 5th, Mars entered the sign of Taurus, right? So since then, we started that work. We started that work of preparing the transformation. And this change that we're building up to, yes, it's unexpected in a way. It can be quite sudden, but we have an inkling of what this change is. And that's simply because we had the eclipses here, right? We had the eclipses on the Taurus-Scorpio axis, April 30th into May 15th. That was the time we had the eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. And the change that's coming up with the Uranus North Node conjunction is associated with perhaps what we got glimpses of during the eclipses back at the end of April, beginning of May, April 30th to May 15th, right? So we have an inkling of what that change might be, simply because this conjunction is taking place where the eclipses were, right? And if you look at the chart, Mercury has gone over Taurus, Venus has gone over Taurus, the Sun has gone over Taurus. We have figured out a little bit of what these changes might be, maybe in our soul, maybe in our heart, maybe in our subconscious. We kind of know what this is. But when it happens, right, when it happens, that's when we'll be like, yeah, I kind of had an inkling of what this change is. So that's the conjunction, and this is happening after 15 years. The last time this happened was 2007, right, 2007. So that's that. And one more thing associated with this is the fact that Saturn here, right, has been squaring the nodes, making a 90-degree angle with both the north node and the south node. Now, Saturn is karmic. It's extremely karmic. I would say that the three most karmic points in a chart are Saturn, the north node, and the south node, right? And these three are making angles. And what that means to me is that whatever this change that we are building up to is extremely karmic in nature, and that's simply because the north node is also karmic, but more karmic because Saturn is squaring it, and any planet that squares the nodes or makes an aspect with the nodes gets magnified in a certain way, and is also considered the planet that kind of transitions us from the past, Ketu, the south node, into the future, north node, Rahu, right? And in this case, it's Saturn. Maybe it's through our karma, maybe it's through decisions, maybe it's through hard work and being disciplined, right? All Saturnian things. Maybe through these things we can really let go of the past and move into the future. So that's Saturn, but Saturn is also a limiter, right? It restricts things, it controls things, it likes to do things when there's order to something. It's about structure, right? That's what Saturn is about. So what Saturn is saying in a square with this energy that we are feeling right now, that will keep on building up till the end of the month, is that, okay, you know what, Uranus, change, fine, that's good. Sudden change, that's fine, but there needs to be a structure to this change, right? There needs to be some order to the change that's happening. And in a positive sense, Saturn is limiting, restricting, controlling, giving structure, giving order to the energy of Uranus, which can be extreme, which can be unpredictable, which can be not structured, right? So it's helping Uranus streamline a little bit, and that's a good thing. So it's a very karmic time, I would say. The full moon in Capricorn was a karmic full moon. Capricorn is a karmic sign. It's ruled by Saturn, right? So a lot of karmic stuff right now. And I don't know, but I don't think karmic necessarily means like, okay, you know what, you did this, you'll get this in return. No, karmic can also just mean, to me, I could be wrong, to me it also means that, yeah, you know, maybe we are meant to learn certain lessons, maybe we are meant to grow as souls, and for that we need certain lessons, right? Maybe it's our karma to grow and evolve in this lifetime. So it's not always this thing of, oh, good things happen to me, my karma is good, bad things happen to me, my karma is bad. No, I don't view it with such a binary approach. I view it more as, okay, we are here to evolve and grow, and sometimes even those with the best of karma face difficult, challenging situations so that they can become better, right? That's how I view it. I don't necessarily view it as action consequence. Maybe that's a part of it, but I think that's only a part of it, right? A lot of it is, what is your soul's intention in this lifetime? Is it to face challenges? Is it to face difficult situations? Is it to face pressure so that you can grow and evolve? Because it's true, when we grow spiritually, when we evolve spiritually, it usually comes after crisis, right? It usually comes after challenges. It usually comes after feeling uncomfortable and feeling like you've hit rock bottom, right? It usually happens like that, and that's what happened to me. I would not have evolved, or I would not have been interested in astrology or anything that goes deeper and goes beyond if I wouldn't have had my set of challenges, right? And I am thankful for those challenges simply because I have grown from it. I have evolved, and there's a lot more evolution to do. There's a lot more growing to do. But what I'm trying to say is that without challenges, we cannot elevate to a higher spiritual plane. Most of us can't. If you can, then that's great. But usually it requires a crisis. It requires something for us to break free from this material plane and access something that goes beyond this material plane, right? Or to realize that we are more than just this material plane. We are more than just our bodies. We are more than just what we do. We are more, right? And that happens when usually our material world is not doing well, right? That's when we kind of step away from it and say, okay, you know what, I'm not my material world, I'm something more than that. And then that's when the quest of discovering what that is starts. So it is karmic, yes, but all I'm trying to say is it's not karma of negative actions, negative consequences. Karma is of multiple levels, and of also what your soul's intention is in this lifetime, right? So it's a lot to do with that. And I always wondered about that. I always wondered that, I'm a good person, and why is this happening to me? Like, I did not do anything to deserve this. That's what I would think at one point of time, and that's been my issue, you can say, since I was 16 years old, right? I was like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do for this person to treat me like this? I've treated this person well, I have done this. But now looking, and that's what started my crisis, which lasted many years. But what I have understood is that it's not because I did something wrong, or I deserve to be treated that way. It's just that that person is a vessel, an instrument rather, so to speak, to make me better, right? To make me realize my shortcomings, to make me connect more with myself. So it's like that. So those of you who are going through difficult times, tough times, a sort of crisis, a sort of identity crisis even, it's not always, what did I do to deserve this, right? It's also that, okay, you know what? I'm growing because of this experience, and this person who hurt me, or the situation that hurt me, the situation that was difficult, was so that the situation could break me out of my cocoon, so that I could evolve into something better, right? So coming back to the astrology, right, a lot of karmic things right now, and Uranus here is the planet of spiritual awakenings, right? So maybe a lot of awakening happening this month. Also, your North Node is magnifying that. Maybe we are awakening, and maybe for us to awaken as a collective, we need to go through some sort of challenging situations, some sort of crisis, because when we evolve, we go through this crisis, so to speak, right? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that if you are feeling challenged, if you are feeling, like there's a lot going on, Uranus is a lot of energy, and it can give this feeling of there's a lot going on. Then maybe it's because we're also awakening, getting used to new energies, right? So just keep that in mind. And now let's talk about the highlights of this week. I know I spent a lot of time speaking about the Uranus North Node conjunction and the Saturn square to the nodes, but that is what is important right now, right? That's what's important. And let's talk about this week. So on Monday, most of the world, this is Monday Pacific time, this is late night Sunday, Mercury opposes Pluto, right? Pluto is the planet of transformation, and Mercury is our mind, it's our thinking, it's our logic, it's our day-to-day routine, it's our health, right? So maybe some change is happening there for us. Maybe we're changing our way of thinking, maybe we're changing our way of communicating, maybe we're changing our way of, living our routine or doing our job, or something associated with health. So this is that energy of transformation, and Pluto can also feel slightly heavy. So if you're feeling mentally heavy, if you're feeling this pressure, just let this energy pass. It will. Mercury is going to move on and enter the sign of Leo. So just let that energy pass. But what this is asking of us is transformation. So that's Monday, most of the world. Pacific time, this is Sunday, late night, right? Now, moving on to Tuesday, two important events happen on Tuesday. We have Mercury here changing signs. It's going to enter the sign of Leo, right? And Mercury is our mind, it's our thinking. And when it changes signs, the energy of how we think, how we communicate, changes in subtle ways, right? Cancer is about going within. Cancer is about exploring the inner world. Cancer is about being with close family and friends, right? It's a very introspective energy. It's also a cardinal sign, so it's an energy that likes to start things but from an intuitive place. So we might have been doing a lot of that in the past few days, since July 5th, I believe, right, when Mercury entered the sign of Cancer. A lot of thinking, maybe a lot of communication to do with our inner world, right, to maybe starting something from an intuitive place. Maybe we're thinking about those things. So that's Mercury in Cancer, and a lot of focus does boil down to emotions, how we feel, what makes us comfortable when Mercury is in Cancer. But now Leo is different, right? Leo is the heart, Leo is love, Leo is going after what your heart desires. It's a very creative energy, fixed creativity. That's what Leo is. So when Mercury enters the sign of Leo, our thinking, our communication, right, how we structure our day-to-day routine, our life, might be more from a place of, does it make me happy? Is this what my heart desires? Right? That kind of thought process might start to come about. So that's a subtle shift that we will feel. And yeah, that's Mercury entering the sign of Leo. And on the same day, Chiron here is going to go retrograde, right? Now, Chiron is the planet of our pain. It's the planet of our wounds, right? And Chiron says, hey, you need to face your pain, you need to face your wounds so that you can heal from them, so that your wounds and your pain don't control you, so that you can control them, right? That's what Chiron says. And when it is direct, which it has been for a few months now, that process of facing that pain, right, facing those wounds so that we can heal, is on, right? It's on with intensity. But when Chiron goes retrograde, the process eases off a little, right? It eases off a little bit. So we find the sense of relief when it comes to facing those wounds, facing that pain. So that's what's happening. And Chiron right now is in Aries. So a lot of what we are facing as a collective, of course it's going to vary depending on our individual charts, depending on our signs, and I do talk about Chiron, where it is for your sign, in my monthly, so if you're interested you can check that out. But as a collective, it's in Aries right now. Aries is our identity, right? It's the first house. It's about our identity. It's about taking action, going forward, right? Making things happen. So in some ways we might be feeling wounded as a collective in that area, right? We might be feeling wounded because we might not be able to take action as we desire. We might not be able to make things happen as we desire. We might have wounds connected to our identity. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because of what's happening globally right now. So that's there. And that's Tuesday as well. And then on Wednesday we have the last quarter square of the moon, right? The moon here is going to square the sun, and this begins the last quarter square of the moon, which is a period of about 7 days or so up until the new moon next week, right? We have a new moon in Leo next week on 28th July. Up until then, which is to do with a lot of subconscious release, right? It's to do with closing out old chapters. It's to do with closing out the energy that entered our lives with the new moon in Cancer on June 28th. It's about, assessing, okay, what about that energy stays, what about that energy goes. So a lot of release, a lot of letting go in subconscious ways, in subtle ways this week. And on the same day, we also have, it is the same day, yeah, it is the same day. We also have the sun opposed Pluto, right? The sun here is going to oppose Pluto. The sun is our consciousness, right? It's our soul, it's our identity, right? I would say Aries is more our external projection of our identity. The soul is more our inner soul identity, right? And Pluto is opposing it, asking us to maybe transform by releasing, ending, or changing something connected to our consciousness or deep in our consciousness. It's saying that, okay, this part of your consciousness needs to change by letting go of something, maybe by releasing some emotions, maybe, right? But this is change. So it's that restructuring of our consciousness in a certain way that takes place on Wednesday. And the sun is also the soul, it's our consciousness, it's our identity. So certain a certain degree of restructuring associated with who we are, right? Who we are at a very deep level, perhaps not in a very tangible way, perhaps more in an internal way, right? Yeah, I think that's what Pluto does. Pluto brings out this deep internal transformation that can often be very subtle. It's not very it can be visible too, right? Because if you change internally, that manifests externally as well. So it can be external. But a lot of the change that Pluto brings is internal, it's spiritual, it's deep, it's hidden, right? And having gone through multiple Pluto transits, I feel that's how Pluto works, right? It works by bringing this deep internal transformation which changes you from the inside out. First the inside and then the outside. So that's what we are facing on Wednesday. And Pluto energy can feel heavy. You know, when I went through my Pluto transits, and I went through a lot of them because I have a lot of energy in Sagittarius, and all that has progressed into Capricorn, and I have a lot of energy in Capricorn as well. And Pluto has been where? In Capricorn since 2008, and before that it was in Sag, right? So it's transited everything in my chart. It's transited Mercury, Mars, my Sun, my IC, my North Node, Uranus, Neptune, and it just squared my Moon a couple years ago. It's still kind of close to my Moon, and I have an Aries Moon, and my progress Sun is like moving hand in hand with Pluto. I can't wait for it to move on. I just yeah. So that's so I understand Pluto. And another planet I do understand is Saturn, right? I've gone through a lot of Saturn as well. But Pluto brings this internal transformation, this deep spiritual transformation that leaves you changed, right? That leaves you totally changed. And it often feels like you're letting go of things that you might not want to let go of. But in the end, that's Pluto, right? It says that let go of it and you'll be better. So that's Wednesday. Transformation to our identity, our soul, our consciousness, that might feel slightly challenging. But that's not negative, right? It's only through challenge that we change. We do not change when things are easy, right? We do not change when things are all going smooth. Why change then, right? We only make the effort to change and grow and evolve when things are tough, right? That's Pluto. So that's Wednesday, and I did speak about the last quarter square of the moon. Now on Friday, most of the world, this is going to be Saturday, I believe. Friday into Saturday, the sun enters the sign of Leo. Now the sun rules Leo. It's a great place for the sun. The sun here, changing signs, can bring a subtle shift from introspecting, from starting things from an intuitive place. Cancer is a cardinal energy, and we had a new moon there on 28th June. From that, it can be, okay, you know what? This is what makes me happy. I'm going to go after this. This is what is in alignment with my heart. I'm going to go after it. Leo, right? Leo is the heart. Leo is love. Leo is fixed creativity. Leo is all these things, but primarily it's about the heart, right? It rules the heart. So when there are energies in Leo, a lot of it becomes about what does my heart desire, right? What does my heart desire? And with Mercury and the Sun both changing signs this week, right, we'll see this big shift of energy from Cancer into Leo, from more introspective energies, from more intuitive, psychic, introverted energies. It's more about expressing love. It's more about following your heart. It's more about being creative, right? Leo is extremely creative, right? We usually assign that to Pisces, and Pisces is very creative as well. But Leo is the fifth house, right? Fifth house is the house of creativity. It is the most creative sign. So with energies in Leo, a lot of energy supports us to do creative things, right? To do things that that are creative. Because think about it, right? You cannot create something if you don't love it, right? We can only create something if we are in love with the art of doing it, or if we are in love with that thing itself. Then we can create it more, take it further. So that's the energy shift into Leo. A lot about following your heart, a good time for creative things if you're an artist or if you're into films, right? Leo is one energy that I have seen that is prominent in people that like movies, that like cinema, that like the performing arts, that like even politics, right? Leo is, although the 10th house is more politics, but I have seen that people who are into politics also have a lot of Leo. So that's Leo. A lot of energy about creating things and being in the public eye, right? Being in the public eye. So we'll see that on Friday into Saturday, depending on your location, right? And on the same day, we have Mercury. So this might be again Saturday. I think this is Saturday most places. Mercury does trine Jupiter, right? It's going to be at 8 degrees of Leo, and it makes a positive angle with Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is a magnifier, and Mercury is our mind. It's our thinking, it's our routine, it's our job, right? So it's magnifying all these things. It's magnifying, maybe the focus on our routine. It's magnifying maybe how we think, how we communicate, all these sort of things. And Jupiter also brings lessons. It also brings gifts. It also brings rewards. So maybe there's this energy of, maybe learning a lesson connected to health, maybe learning a lesson connected to work, or maybe receiving something positive connected to health, job, diet, lifestyle, routine, social media, communication, that sort of thing. So that's how we end the week, right? That's how we end the week. And yeah, let me just clean up the chart. And the moon this week, right? The moon this week is going to be in Aries and Taurus, right? And Gemini. And Aries, the moon in Aries is a lot about starting things. So at the beginning of the week, we will have that energy of starting something. But when the moon moves into the sign of Taurus, right, which I believe is, let me check, I have noted this down. Yeah, I think it's Wednesday Pacific time, 2 p.m., right? That's when the moon enters the sign of Taurus. Then we will have the moon right here, and we'll have a lot of Taurus, right? And I didn't speak about this in the beginning of the video, but I should have, right? A lot of energy in Taurus. And Taurus on a collective level, right, is the sign to do with the economy. It's the sign to do with financial matters. It's the sign to do with security and stability and currencies and food resources and raw materials, right? That's what Taurus is. So there's a lot of energy right now, and on a collective level, this is where the energy is right now. So I just thought I'd mention that. And I think I've covered this week pretty well. Okay, one more thing. Venus here did enter the sign of Cancer on Sunday, and we did have the new moon. The last new moon was in Cancer on 28th June, right? The Sun and Mercury this week are going to finish up their transit in the sign of Cancer, but Venus is entering it now, and Venus brings positivity. It brings gifts, blessings, rewards, and healing. So what might happen is that whatever work we did with the new moon in Cancer energy that started on June 28th, we might start to receive something positive connected to that work with Venus in Cancer starting July 17th, right? And I think that sums it up pretty well. So that's the week in a nutshell, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week, and I will see you for my new moon in Leo video. So have a great week. Bye.